Welcome back. You're watching Power Lunch. We're now joined on the desk by Roland Sassoon. He's CEO of Sasfin, and the group today reporting its total assets up by 28% to 5.3 billion rand for the 6 months ended December, and that's because of growth in its business banking division. Roland, I make the mention about the bigger asset base, but behind it all, we actually have got earnings flat. Perhaps let's begin there. Where is the struggle there? Because business banking is doing extremely well, up 13% on an earnings basis.
Yes, there were two divisions that underperformed. One was Sasfin Capital and the other was Treasury. Sasfin Capital includes our private equity and property equity investments, and unfortunately we've had to reduce certain values there.
Sure.
And that's impacted on that figure. You will have noticed in our previous 6 months, in other words the second half of last year, we also dropped in that area.
Yeah.
So Sasfin Capital has been underperforming now for 2 half-year periods.
Right. What was the problem there?
The problem there is that I think along with many others in private equity, nationally and internationally, we've had to reduce certain values because certain of the companies were not performing as expected. So we've taken, we've really rejigged our whole private equity division. We've downscaled the business. We've got a far smaller staff, and we've decided to exit certain of the investments.
Yes.
And we are doing more what we call club deals, where we share investments with other investors.
Right.
So we don't want to have such, we want more granularity in that division instead of having such concentration risk. So we're moving towards granularity, and we're also moving towards managed assets as opposed to proprietary invested assets.
Yeah.
So we've got an interest in a company called Trinitas, which is a managed fund, and we've recently announced that we will have a 25% interest in a property management company called Annuity.
Right.
And that we see more business done on a managed basis rather than on a proprietary basis.
So what does that strategy then say about your future play in that business? Are we looking here at perhaps you eventually quitting that business, or are you positioning yourself for perhaps greater growth going into the future?
Yes. Now, we're certainly not going to exit the business, although we'll probably exit the property side of the business.
Right. And private equity remains.
Yeah, but private equity will remain, but in a different form.
Right. Wealth management, that division's earnings up 26%. How big is that division, and where is the target in terms of growing the asset base that you have there?
All right, so that division is predominantly a stockbroking business, which is the old Frankel Pollock stockbroking business. And we're moving more and more towards asset management.
Right.
And it's pleasing to see that for the first time, the Sasfin Asset Managers part of that wealth division is starting to make a profit, as is the financial planning side. And we see the asset management part of the business growing very substantially.
And how is that? Where is that money coming from? Because we know everybody's under pressure. Where is that money coming from?
Well, we perhaps new players.
Sure.
We've got a good base in our stockbroking business, so we can migrate a certain amount of that business towards asset management.
Great.
But we believe we've got a very good value proposition for new clients. We've got quite a strong asset consulting business, where we consult to pension funds, and a lot of those pension funds are now asking us to manage their assets.
Sure.
We're also building our brand. I mean, you will have noticed we advertise quite a bit on TV, soccer, cricket, and things like that. So more and more people are starting to recognize the brand, and we're attracting more business.
So what's the target for that business? Where do you want to take it to? And what sort of time frame are we talking about?
We think within the next few years that'll become a very substantial business. We believe that that business could be almost as big as our business banking business over the next few years.
Right. He's not going to give me a figure. I was hoping that the second time around I'd get let's talk about that excess cash sitting on your balance sheet, 1.3 billion rand. You had a loss on it the last time round. What's the strategy going forward for it?
Well, the strategy there is to comply with Basel III.
Sure.
And I think a lot of the banks are struggling to comply with the liquidity and the stable funding requirements of banks in terms of Basel III. And we took a bold decision, and we've borrowed a lot of long-term money, which you'll see in our a big increase in long-term borrowings, and a lot of that money is now sitting in the bank unused. But at least we can sleep at night.
But there was to see you there.
And of course there's potential to grow our business. So we've taken a conservative approach, and we've got a very safe balance sheet.
Do you still need to raise money to be adequately positioned for Basel III?
No, we believe that we're now adequately positioned for Basel III. But we will continue to take deposits, because obviously that's the bread and butter of banking.
For sure.
So we'll keep growing our deposit book, and we have been quite successful in that as well.
I was actually going to say that, because I wanted us to talk about your loan book, because you did grow it quite successfully. I just want to get a sense from you, and earnings were up as well. Just in terms of the health of your customers there, how healthy are they?
Well, as you can see, our loss ratio has dropped quite a bit. It's dropped from 1.6% to 1.2%, which I think is quite good. And if we look at the business banking part of that, the loss is a lot lower than that. So most of our losses, in fact, were in the private equity side. So if we take that out, because that's, we believe, is non-recurring, then our loss ratio is very good, and it should get lower than this.
Absolutely.
Next year.
So going into the future, where to now for Sasfin? Very strong here in South Africa, and you're growing on the other side on wealth management. What about the continent?
Oh, the continent. The continent is difficult for a small player like ourselves.
Sure.
We have done business in the continent, and we do a little bit, but we think that is not a top priority for us. We've got other priorities in South Africa before we really have a go at the rest of the continent.
Roland Sassoon and his team are looking firmly at South Africa. That's it for this interview now. Let's take a quick look at the markets.